The wind whispers and shakes your thoughts in empty space. There are no answers to be found there. Still, the voices soar provocatively, the silence on the verge of raising the curtain of the stage. But the provocation does not end in silence. Questions give birth to questions, and the chain of questions encompasses an unfathomable development. It is not the stuffing of convention. Praise is a provocation, a momentary spark that challenges existence itself. It questions the truth, rips open the world, and drives a wedge into a landscape with which we are all too familiar. The act of placing one's attention is not merely a momentary pause in thought. It is a gap for the invisible forces to quietly flow in. In the aftermath of the provocation, we are allowed to stand in that gap, as if an infinite silence envelops us. Without provocation, the world sleeps. Without the ode of praise, the question is closed. We place our attention with an ode of provocation, a symbol of courage that exposes itself between truth and fiction and burns up in this fleeting moment. The sound of the provocation becomes a sharp blade, gliding across the thin ice of the senses. The tip of the blade, as if stripping away the truth, tears open the mask of ideas and becomes a window through which the unexplored darkness peeks through the cracks. The hymn is a melody that invites peace. It is an interplay of musical accompaniment and silence, a moment when a sound that does not resonate shoots through the void. The ear embraces the fiction. The words bestow sensations that cannot be touched. An ode to provocation is a festival that resonates with anxiety, a harmony of contradictions, a song of creation spun in the midst of collapse. A momentary choice becomes the basis of eternity, a motion of stillness. The waves of emotion transform infinitely in an instant, and the chi that is placed on the spot, while pregnant with some past, is filled with the embryonic movement of the future. It breaks the peace of sleep and kindles inertia. Without provocation, the meaning of the ode is worthless, and provocation without praise runs fast while stopping, and only at the end of the words does silence sprout. Its fluctuation creates ripples, like a stone dropped without a sound. People abhor provocation, but it is irresistibly sweet, like a dangerous wine. Each time one slurps it down, the heart rediscovers its own contours, a plough that digs up the roots of existence. If there were no provocation, the sleep-called peace would just lie there quietly. The chi placed in provocation is a mirror. It is a mirror in which one's own face is reflected, but it is a distorted self-portrait. The provocation reflects the truth diffusely, but in that reflection we can pick up the outlines of truth that we normally cannot see. To celebrate provocation is to listen for the signs of creation. That ear must be acute. It must be able to hear the silent melody of the provocation. In the unguarded silence, provocation, like a wedge that carves in the silence, the momentary touch that throws ripples in the calm of thought, the sharpness of a question like the edge of a blade that breaks the calm and ode. It is an echo after the shaking, the light that drips from the cracks of dissolution, the beauty that dwells in the margins of destroyed equilibrium. Truth always wears a form of dichotomy. Provocation undermines order, while impregnating it with the embryo of an unknown order. An ode plays the sublime, but behind it lies the contradiction of silence. Therefore, we should not fear provocation. By shying away from it, we close the window to the truth. Do not be blind to the hymn. To be intoxicated by it is to lose sight of the truth of the inversion. If there is a trace of endless wind in the hand that grips the void, is that the virtue of provocation? Words fly around like arrows, but they do not sting. They have a tactile force that only bounces off the membranes of the mind. The questioning is not an attack, but an ode to the possibilities that dwell in the moment. Rather, it is an invisible brushstroke that coexists with darkness and outlines it. If human thought is mostly a reenactment of existing patterns, the role of provocation is a dance of destruction and creation that interrupts that infinite circuit for even a moment. Beauty dwells in conflict. Harmony in the midst of division. Dialogue in the midst of conflict. The method is bold, yet the result is delicate. It is an aesthetic that chooses to touch rather than cut with it, without dulling the edge of words. A new perspective, A new sensitivity is born in the swaying that it brings. The wind ruffles our hair and robs us of stability, but we need not fear it, for the hymn of provocation is played as a hymn that makes our being sharper and resonates deeper